Hello, my friends, and welcome back to another Axie Tuesday. Today, we're going to dive into some more footage from Code Axie at New York, right alongside NFT NYC in the Samsung A37 Building. It was an amazing event. 2 weeks ago, we saw the beginning of the footage that I was able to record in that great podcast studio that they have set up there. And today, 2 weeks later, we're going to get to see the rest of it. Per usual, we've shuffled our schedule around a little bit, but we're back on this every other Tuesday cadence, at least till AxieCon kicks in. I'll be headed back to Asia after that, and then I'll be firmly planted here right on beautiful Puerto Rican soil for the rest of the year. So thank you for joining us here for another Axie Tuesday. I want to set the stage for this first piece. Once again, we're going to have two parts coming up, two video podcasts. This first one is going to be a continuation of where the last conversation left off. So if you joined us for part one, you'll have a little bit of a precursor coming into this conversation. It had a nice natural break point in it halfway through. So most of the stuff that we talk about here in the second half is completely independent from the things that we talked about in the first half. Now, if you missed the first half, you can find it on YouTube, youtube.com/AxieInfinity, the home of the Axie Infinity official content. You can find that Axie Tuesday podcast episode from last week there right now with timestamps. Yeah, I know, we're freaking awesome. But here we go. We're going to continue that today. It's mostly a chat about esports. We're talking to Bill, I'm talking to Guru, and I'm also talking to Ryan from Meditate. We chewed through some different anecdotes about esports, different talks about sustainability, not necessarily for Web3 esports, but really traditional esports. This one was a trip down memory lane. We talk about some old events and some situations where things got murky. We talk about the Overwatch League a little bit, and it definitely qualifies as what I like to call real talk, the real nuts and bolts of it. In the second half, we're going to talk to the Quest guys. We're going to hear from them about building the creator program. At the time, it was a leak to tell them a little bit about the esports stuff, but we got their first reactions and get to go over some of that stuff for AxieCon. So we will talk about that later, but first, let's dive in to this opening video piece here, the continuation from last week with Bill, Guru, and our buddy Ryan.
Axie Infinity just announced the content creator education program. I can't remember the exact terminology they used. Yeah. But do you think that something like that might come for esports as well?
I think it's been happening anecdotally. Like, we write the grants to be a little bit strict and almost like hard ass in a way because we get a lot of applications.
Well, the first round was pretty loose. To be honest, it was
it's getting a little bit more. But for example, we added in the requirement of hey, you need to have other languages broadcast your thing. Yeah. It can't just be one language. Yeah. And some people got really scared about that. I was like, hey man, you kind of just need to make an effort. Reach out to a Portuguese streamer. In the first grant, there were a ton of people that spoke Portuguese and Spanish that said, I want to cast this stuff, and nobody communicated with me at all. How do I even find this tournament? So extend the olive branch. If you tell me, hey, there's no Portuguese caster available because there's only 4 in the world that are actually committed to this, that's fine. I want to see that you made the effort. And everyone that reached out to us and said, we want to do this, but we're afraid of the cost of hiring all these casters, I said, just try. We're here to work with you, not against you. That's a filter to see the people that are willing to try. And if you're willing to try, we're here to help you. We give free consulting to every single org that's on the grant that asks for it. Mm-hmm. But you have to ask for it. That's part of the gate. That's part of the checkpoint is you have to have the confidence to say, hey, I don't know how to do this and I want help. Can you please help me? Yeah. If you say that, dude, there's going to be somebody right there that can at least point you in the right direction. We might not be able to solve all your problems. Right. We're not going to do the logistics for you, but we can give you some thoughtful advice about what to do and how to do it. I mean, that's part of the idea of the Competitive Integrity Council. It sort of doubles as free consulting. Yes, we rule on unethical things that happen in the competitive scene, but if there's a high profile tournament that comes about, we'll certainly give you our opinion. We've got a lot of esports experience across that panel. That's kind of the point. We're here to help and foster growth in the scene. I mean, that's number one. I personally am not one that loves the franchise model in esports. It has a lot of benefits, but for Web3 and scaling the vision of Axie, I think it has to be decentralized and it has to come from a place of empowering third parties that want to figure out how to build a business model around our ecosystem.
I agree. Absolutely.
I agree.
Well, shit. All right, we just solved it, boys. We're there. All right, we're in.
Done.
Woo! To the moon it goes. I mean, that's amazing. I had another little esports anecdote that Ryan reminded me of, and I've already forgotten, so it must not have been too important. Great work. Right. Thanks a lot, man.
It's all right. It's okay.
We just got to start bringing, I honestly, what I want to see more than anything else in the Axie ecosystem is more meetups like this, but for the esports side of things. I want to go to my local hobby shop, and instead of seeing people play Pokemon card games, which is what I did in the past, I want to see people on their phones playing Axie Infinity.
Yeah.
I want to walk in and see 100 people on their phones playing Axie Infinity and be like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
Oh, it's Axie Infinity. Haven't you heard of it?
Oh, that would make me so happy. And we're getting closer. Honestly, with the esports stuff, we've had to move a little bit slowly because Origin has been the focus for a while. Part of the plan has been, hey, we need to build with Origin in mind. So like, let's plant some seeds, let's build things up, but the really big esports engine will start when Origin hits its global launch. Yep. And I've been with the company for 14 months, something like that, 15 months,
You're
something
a veteran.
there. And
You're
like,
a veteran already.
I'm so excited to finally start deploying. Like, I've made a lot of roadmaps, and some of them were pretty aggressive. Like, Axie Pro League is an idea that I've been sold on forever. It's just a matter of who, what, when, where, and how, right? Those are the key questions. And it's exciting to start thinking about, like, wow, post AxieCon, we could actually start the first iteration of a mini Axie Pro League, right? Like, start tying these events together and building this cadence of, we have this world championship every year where a new winner gets crowned, you know? And I think that's a really powerful part of building these storylines, building up these players, building up the personalities. Like, everybody knows Indez is like one of the best players in the world for Axie Classic.
Of course, yeah.
We need more Indezes for Axie Classic, right? We need Indez to have a rival that's worth a damn to be able to take him down.
Well, that's where the storylines and the events come in, and you know, you see someone qualify from opens. It's like, oh, can this guy make it through the opens and challenge, you know, and win that Axie Pro League? That's where the storylines really come in, and then that's where all that secondary content comes in, and people are like, holy shit, they finally beat him, like, you know what I mean? That sort of stuff. Right?
We need it. So, we need our El Clasico.
Yeah, exactly. You know, Navi Alliance back in the Dota 2
that
days.
was the old Dota meme. Oof.
Oh, I know it. For us, we were so dry on League. We just had Faker at the top, and everyone was underneath. And I'm like, how do you ever amount to this godly being from Korea? Like, why is he always at the top, man? But again, it's the dialogue, right? It's the story. And I was going to say one thing about that, because I actually talked to Jeff and Philip a lot on the backside too, because that's my specialty. I come from a backside of business. I did a lot in tech, and I think one of the things that holds currently the esports front end side of Axie back is something that unfortunately exists in the back end, and is the fact that, like, Web3 gaming, tokenomics, game design, game loops, etc., they are things that are very important and not perfected in Web3 gaming right now. 100%. And they're things that won't be perfected anytime soon, right? But Axie has the gall and the capacity to go through and perfect that. And I think as that slowly starts to refine too, we'll have some of this baggage that gets carried into the esports and the front end, content creation. I'm sure you see it, Ryan. Like, some of your comments aren't pretty, I guarantee, because mine aren't always pretty either, right? And this all exists because there is some baggage. There's some stuff we got to deal with. But I'm very bullish on at least the consistency and the discipline I see out of the Web3 gaming innovators and the people who are the leaders that's really going to shape that. So it's a hedge for the long run. I can't wait to see what esports looks like 1 to 5 years from now in the Web3 scene. It's going to be exciting.
I'm bullish on the genre that Axie started in, because, like, Web3 is so early. I don't want to dunk on any specific game, but anyone that's like, hey, we're going to be the next first-person shooter, like, we're going to replace PUBG, or we're going to be a MOBA, like, dude, League and Dota and Counter-Strike have like a 20-year head start on you in terms of game design, iteration, making gross failures in terms of that game design and figuring out how to get past it. These games are insanely perfected and tuned to a ridiculously high degree. And just saying, like, hey, we're a browser first-person shooter, we're going to do esports, like, if you're saying that, you don't understand the true essence of esports and the amount of, like, grit and dedication that's gone into designing these games. And because Axie right now, like, Origin is a card game, there's certainly a place for competitive card games. They will never be on that same S-tier sense of urgency like Dota, League, Counter-Strike, because those games are just so infinitely complex and have this high degree of mechanical skill that card games will never have.
Agreed. Yeah.
However, we have a great proof of concept for competitive card games. Texas Hold'em Poker, Magic the Gathering, Hearthstone, all of these games have very robust competitive scenes that are fun to watch, have highly engaged players, and have very competitive mechanics. And I see no reason why Axie can't be like the Web3 leader of this kind of genre. But, like, card games are a really good starting point. They're a lot more simplistic than some of these other esports. So that makes me bullish that we can actually ascend to that standard of what is a card game esport. for a first-person shooter, I actually don't know how you achieve that on any time horizon of reality. You know, these games take so long to build. Somebody will crack the code for sure.
Of course, yeah.
But it's no easy task, and it's very easy to overpromise of we're going to make the best FPS game on the blockchain. Like, good luck to you. That's
Netflix of esports.
It's a small target.
Back to that.
It goes back to that's
what it
then
is.
we're the Counter-Strike of the blockchain.
Yeah,
like,
there you go.
I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah,
Right,
good
Halo
luck.
Infinite can't even keep player liquidity.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Exactly.
And Halo's a very establised brand. You know,
exactly.
big backing by Microsoft. You
And
know,
a long
it's just-
history.
Yeah. What is it? How old's the franchise? 20 years?
25 years?
Something like
Yeah,
that.
25
I was
years,
playing
something
when
like
I was
that.
in middle school,
Yeah.
so
I mean,
that
so
sounds about right.
it's like a lot of these NFT games are just gonna fold. In like, you know, we're compounding the bear market.
Yeah.
You know, we're compounding new developers, low player base, and it's just like, all right, 99% of these games are gonna fail. Like, honest. Like, I know I'm not gonna be bearish, like, but this is very bearish.
Yeah.
Like, it's just reality. Like, guys, like.
I'm laughing because someone mentioned to me, they're like, Zyori, aren't you a little bearish on esports? Like, the Overwatch League is failing. Like, the Call of Duty League isn't doing as well as they thought it would. And I was like, all right, well, there's a common denominator
There's a
across some of
difference.
those leagues.
There is a difference.
Also, like, the real esports people I know were never bullish on the Overwatch League. So, like, looking at that as a metric of esports is failing is like, no, Overwatch is failing, and dare I say, that shit was always going to fail.
I mean-
sorry to everyone listening that was bullish on Overwatch, but, like, there were some heroes of this. Dude, the guy that won the Axie Infinity Origin tournament in the Philippines, his name is still ADRD HOTS. You know what HOTS is? Heroes of the Storm. You know what that is?
yeah.
The failed Blizzard MOBA esport. The irony of that, like when Heroes of the Storm came out, Blizzard had Hearthstone, and they thought Hearthstone was going to be their fun casual game, and Heroes of the Storm would be their awesome competitive esport. And it was inverted. Hearthstone
Completely, yeah.
somehow struck gold, and Blizzard was like, whoa, this card game's popping off. And they saw that as a threat to Heroes of the Storm. And then they ended up actually rugging Heroes of the Storm after all these teams had made investments and signed players. It was disgusting. It was the worst display of what esports has to offer. It was absolute corporate. We're going to wait until the last possible moment to reveal this because we know the investors are going to be sad. And we don't have to legally disclose it until 10 seconds before our quarterly reports come out. And that was fucked up, man. I felt so bad for those organizations that invested in Heroes of the Storm
Players
and then
too,
like
I mean,
literally
players
got
too,
rugged.
yeah.
You're practicing on this dead
Yeah,
game.
players
and you're
too.
like, well, what do I play now?
Yeah.
That's
like,
a heartbreaking
you know,
feeling.
Yeah. So like
Yeah.
when Heroes of the Storm failed, like does that make me bearish on esports? Not at all.
Nope.
That was just a game that had a bad structure, a bad game design, and was being propped up by huge cash injections.
Yep.
Same as the Overwatch League. It
Yep.
was never designed to succeed. Who was the Overwatch League for? It was designed for investors. And the moment that COVID like stopped the homestands and made it impossible for investors to realize their revenue, the whole thing crumbled. And that was it.
I mean, esports has its own problems with like revenue and stuff, but that, yeah, I agree. It's a completely different problem. Like,
Yeah.
you know, the franchise model.
Yeah.
In some places it works, but you know, a lot of places it just doesn't. Like, it doesn't work. But you know,
Yeah.
that's a big discussion, obviously.
Oh,
Yeah. I mean, dude, it's like to circle it back, it's just like crypto, right? Like I often say, like I think 90% of crypto is shit. If you total up all the
Yeah.
NFT projects,
Yeah.
all the stuff out there, like 90% is shit, but that 10% that's good, that's where the smartest people in the world are building.
I'm even saying
Agreed.
95. Like,
Yeah,
how many?
I
how
think
many,
you're being
how many-
generous,
look,
to be
I
honest.
try to be
Guys.
generous. I got a lot of
Like-
crypto friends.
Like, how,
You
like,
don't
no,
wanna hurt
let's
anyone's
be real.
feelings.
Like, how many of these games are actually gonna make it? Like, how many of these guilds
Yeah.
are actually gonna make it? Like,
Yeah,
like
it's
maybe
dude,
5% less.
It's staggering to me
No.
the amount of guilds that enter my DMs and kind of go like, "Hi."
Hello.
It's kind of staggering the amount of guilds that enter my DMs and kind of ask me like, "Hey Zyori, what should our business model be?"
Yep.
And
Well-
like that is, in some ways, I respect them reaching out, and in other ways, I'm like, you made a lot of commitments to a lot of people, and you like actually don't understand what your business model
The
is.
issue is they took money too. That's
Always the issue.
That's the issue.
Always
It's
the
like,
issue.
okay, our
Yeah.
investors want to return now, and now it's
Yeah.
like, well, you don't have a business model. Guys. Like,
So if anyone wants advice on their project, ask Zyori before you start.
Yeah,
Before you do a funding
before
round.
you sign any
Yeah. Right,
seed
that's-
rounds and everything, it's
Yeah.
like, good luck, guys.
That was
Dude.
one of the things that set us apart. You know, MTTM to this day has never done a seed round.
Really?
Everything that we've done, despite being one of the biggest and most well-known guilds in the web blockchain gaming ecosystem, has been privately funded, 100%. And we did it with an intention, because we knew that we were coming into very volatile market conditions after that hype cycle. And we realized, hey, everybody's bringing in the money now because they're looking far off. But a lot of the logistics didn't make sense. Like everything was downtrending. And I had to chat with the team and I said, look, guys, we did well in the bear market or in the bull market. What do you guys think about just putting a little bit aside, putting a treasury together and privately funding this until we get to a point where we can better determine our horizons? Greatest thing we ever did. And 90% of the guilds in my DMs, because I wrote that article, right, and everybody reached out to me saying, oh, hey, Guru, how do I make my guilds sustainable? And I'm like, all right, what's your cap table look like? And they're like, oh, we're $2 million in the hole. And I'm just grabbing my hair. I'm like, whoa, crazy. So yeah, I agree with you 100%, actually.
Yeah, no, it's funny because with Moonduck, there was a period where I spent a good year of my life trying to fundraise and we failed miserably. The best offer we got was, we'll wipe out your debt and give you $200,000 over 3 years. And you can use that for salaries for your key people you want to keep. Like, we have 10 people. Yeah, you got to whittle it down to 3 that actually matter. Like, I'm going to say no to that one, dog. Thanks a lot for that generous offer. And of course, the holding company that made us that offer went under like 2 years later. So they clearly really understood the values of esports. But for a couple of years there, like, I'm sure Bill remembers, like, I kind of thought I was a failure. I was like, I'm the CEO of this org and I can't raise money for our business model. Maybe we don't have a business model. And then I look back and go, we kind of didn't. We were a scrappy, ragtag, gritty team of esports enthusiasts, but not taking that money was the smartest thing we ever did.
I think it comes down to founders' ethics too. Like, you see some of these pitch decks in Web3, and you're like, "This is fucking bullshit. You're never gonna do this." Like, you know, you're like, "Guy, buddy, fuck off. Your total addressable market is like half the population. Fuck off." Like, you know what I mean? It's like, come on, you know. And then it comes down to founders' ethics. It's like, I had that exact same problem. I was like, maybe I'm a failure, but no, it's like, I was not willing to compromise myself and oversell for this investment. And so that's what happened. I was just like, look, this is the reality of the company. This is it. I did eventually sell the company, but I bought it back. However, like, you know, that's
esports for it.
I sold my company and then I bought it back for a discount. And it is what it is. But like, no, but that's the reality in Web3. Like, you're going to get these companies, you know, they're raising and like they made these promises to these investors. Yeah. And the reality is there's no way to actually keep it. Yeah. You know, so.
Yeah, it was wild to see that hiring craze in esports of like, hey, anyone that can sell anything, we want you, because there was this huge like funding wave of all these major orgs. And they were like, now we need to realize the revenue. And there was this rush to hire every salesperson that existed. I remember that time so vividly. I almost took a sales job. That's like how tempting it was, because people were just rolling.
I think I talked you out of it. I was like, don't take that.
You're like, don't do it. Don't sell your soul for a little bit of money now.
What was it?
Stay true.
What was it? The hunter?
Oh yeah, that was like, we're looking for hunters. Are the only people that can survive in this position? Man. We need a hunter.
So for those of you who don't know what hunters are, basically they're like
they're the scouters, the finders.
Exactly. Yeah. They do all the grunt work.
They foil the farmers, right?
They do all the grunt work. Yeah. They don't do the closing.
There was a director of biz dev, and I was like the assistant to the assistant of the biz dev guy, and it's just like, you do all the work, and then your boss gets all the commissions. That's basically what.
They just sign the check, close it.
It was terrible. And at that point, that company, you might be able to read in between the lines here. Their headquarters was in Seattle, and they're like, yeah, we've got a satellite sales office in Santa Monica. It's like, what does that mean? They're like, you're going to be sitting alone in a dungeon doing ad sales, and if you don't sell shit, you're out. I was like, so I have to live in this really expensive place and work out of this office that's basically worse than my bedroom and not make a commission? Yeah. It was a flat salary gig too, which at the time I was like, wow, that's really generous. And then Bill was one of the ones that pointed out, like, bro, you're going to be signing $1 million deals. You should be getting a commission on this shit. Yeah. What's wrong with you? Flat salary is the worst thing you could accept in a job like this.
You want performance for sure.
A flat salary hunter, don't take it. That's red flag number one.
Absolutely.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah. It's funny. BD is such a... I did a lot of executive recruitment in my old consulting firm before Web3. BD is such a scam of a title. People would ask me like, "Whoa, what is business development?" And I'm like, "It's a glorified salesperson." And they're like, wait, really? I'm like, yes, 100%.
Pretty much, yeah.
That's a lot of
like, sure, when you get into specialty like director positions or managers or like internationals or asset managers.
There's BD strategy.
But like, let's be real, 90% of it's like you're a salesperson with a fancy title.
Yeah. That was, I had that harsh reality interviewing for jobs. Like, I kind of never stopped interviewing for jobs. Even when I was CEO of Moonduck, my old business partners that aren't listening to this probably don't even know that. But like, I literally never stopped applying for jobs.
The untold stories.
Yeah, I was interviewing the entire time, that entire half decade, because I wanted to know what I was worth in the market. It gave me confidence. When you're running this business that's kind of built on a slight house of cards and you don't have a really great business model, and you you know that your business model is like the potential is to sell ads, but you suck at selling ads. You're like, do I actually have a business model or am I delusional? And what kept me going was like getting job offers that I could turn down, be like, okay, well, I could at least go make $40,000 a year selling ads for this shitty platform, you know? And that was at least enough to maintain my confidence, which is a really weird thing to say out loud here on this podcast. But
it's real though.
That was like actually how I kept going through like the esports bear markets, was just getting a read on what am I worth in the market. If this goes to zero right now, what's my next best offer? I always needed to have that kind of just on the back of my brain. Like,
it's smart.
I got options. No matter what, I got options.
Yeah.
Like that's powerful. You know, you got options, Ryan. I see that look you're giving me. Like, this guy's got options over here.
Ryan, you got options. If MT8 doesn't work out, I'm just kidding. I love your life. And same with you, Steven. If you're watching this, you know you're my man.
Hey man, if this doesn't work out for me, if Web3 ends up being a bust for old Ryan Meditate over here, I'll probably just go back to the restaurants. I'll become a server again.
Yeah.
Oh man, there you go.
That's my plan.
I mean, you look good doing it. You're very well dressed today.
Oh, thank you, thank you. I tried to dress up.
Dude, if it goes to zero, you can hire Jiho to be a bartender because he's looking good too. He's been hitting the gym.
My
so
goodness,
yeah.
I'm jealous.
I know. Like, the panel started complimenting him. I was just like, fuck, I need to throw some compliments out there. I'm gonna look at it. Like, I gotta butter up the boss here. It's like,
Yeah.
bro, you're hitting weights.
I need to get his regimen, man. Ever since I joined Axie Infinity, I've only been putting on the weight. I need to start doing what Jiho's doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, the muscle pounds. Well, gents, this has been super cool. It's been awesome to shoot the shit here in the Samsung studio and talk about esports, tell some more stories. This is such an eclectic group of people. I love this opportunity to merge all my worlds. I know all three of you individually. I never thought the four of us would be sitting here together behind these microphones. So
amazing.
It's a real pleasure. I really appreciate it.
It
Likewise.
absolutely
Thanks for
is.
having us in.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, we'll be back with more after this.
Oh, there we are. We're back again. Almost missed that transition, folks. It brings out the real talk. Something about being around your buds in New York, feeling that infectious event energy. It really brings out the best of you, especially as you get later in the night, you get more and more interested in the real talk vibes. And we're going to keep them coming at you. So up next, it's going to be a chat about the creator program. At least we'll get to that. It's with the Quest guys. Mr. Hantal will be with me, as well as Bruce and Mystic. I don't think I really let Mystic get a lot of words in on this one, but it was still a great chat nonetheless. It ended up being the last chat of the night. I actually forgot what time the venue had been closing at the time. We were getting a signal from the producer like, all right, man, wrap it up. All right, man, wrap it up. And I realized it's because we were actually over time of like the party was supposed to be done and the venue was supposed to shut down. So we kind of had to wrap it up a little bit more quickly than I would have otherwise. I was ready to sit there and do another 45 minutes with these dudes, but unfortunately, it's just not what we were up to. So I think without any further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into this conversation with Quest. It starts with a little more real talk. We dive into talking about my avatar and a couple other things, but we do end up going deep on the creator program and then talk about esports again at the end. So kick back and enjoy. Here we go.
I'm good.
I'm ready to look.
But, you know, I'm a Clone X girl. You guys know it.
Yeah.
I want to ask you guys honestly, is it weird that my profile picture is a Clone X? I'm self-conscious now. I heard some community members think that it's weird that I did that.
Isn't Gabby Clone X?
Gabby does have a Clone X. I don't know if it's his PFP at this moment. Maybe it is.
I'm a Cosmo Dino, and I know it's a joke, right? But I think at the end of the day, you just go with what's your vibe.
Here's the story behind it, though, for real. When they announced that you could use an actual NFT as your PFP of Twitter if you had Twitter Blue, to me, that was actually literally the first time I could say my NFT on Ethereum mainnet that's just a PFP has utility.
Yes.
And when I saw that, I was like, I have to take advantage of this because it is like the moment I've been waiting for the last 10 fucking years of watching blockchain.
Right.
So when I looked at my collection, I was like, well, what's my most valuable NFT? Like, if I could have made my Mystic my actual like hexagon PFP, I would have done it in a heartbeat. It would have definitely beat out the Clone X. But you know, I can't do that. So I was like, this is my most valuable NFT, and I bought it specific. I bought that thing for 7.5 ETH, right? It's on the blockchain. You can see it. That's not some secret.
Yeah.
OpenSea Zyori. I'm verified. I'm right there. I'm selling dreads, baby. You know, it's out there. I'm totally like pretty transparent with that stuff. But I bought it because I feel like it actually represents what I want to look like in the metaverse. Like if I had an avatar in the metaverse, that thing's pretty fucking close to my residual self-image. And I think that's cool. And when I bought it, I was like, this is a shitload of money. I got to sell some stuff to buy this, but I'm going to do it because I think this is like an actual forever NFT.
Yeah.
And like, so I hope it goes to the moon, but even if it went to 150 ETH floor in the next 2 years, I don't think I'd sell it. Like,
how much is it worth now?
I don't know, like 11 or something. Like, well, it's like above floor. It's like got some rare stuff. It's got like holding the rose and whatever. So
I mean, listen.
I know that.
I think you have a G pass on the Clone X thing because I feel like Axies just aren't quite PFPs yet.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
When you
it's my metaverse pet. It's
right.
not my avatar though.
Right.
My Mystic is definitely not my avatar. All things equal in the metaverse. I want it to be following me around like Pokemon Yellow style, where I'm Misty and fucking my Staryu's right behind me, and it's my Mystic.
What does a Lunassian avatar look like?
That's a great question. I don't know. So that's like, are there humans in Lunasia? I think the answer is no.
Not yet. So are you just the Lunassian avatar? Is it just
like,
the B space?
I don't know, dude.
That's
like, dude. So I'm working on that Zyori comic book, right? It's a little delay. I just met my artist in the Philippines. That's such a fucking cool thing. So like, I have one guy. He's doing the inking, the coloring, and like the whole like visual design of. I just sent him a script of general ideas, and he makes it. It's incredible. I met him for the first time. He's built like half the comic book. I'm like, dude, you're a genius. He just sat there like, yeah, I'm okay. I'm like, dude, you. Like, you have such a great vision, man. The Philippines, have you guys been there yet? Have you guys ever been to the Philippines?
I haven't.
Can I shill it real quick?
100%.
The Philippines is the shit, dude. It is the perfect intersection of Dota fandom, true esports fans, English speakers, and so here's the thing. The reason that Filipinos adopt Web3 so quickly is because part of their culture and their language is that you have to constantly be learning. It's a whole bunch of islands, right? Mm-hmm. There's over like 300 different dialects because there's a lot of islands that don't really mingle with other islands. Yeah. So the language is like evolving in real time as all these people start to commingle. And over like decades, if you don't keep up and continue learning, you risk becoming this old like laggard that doesn't speak the language to be able to work in the local economy that all the young people do. So I think they have a culture that is like actually pretty prime at just learning. Like they play a lot of games because they're good at learning competitive games. Dota, Valorant, League of Legends. What's that other mobile game? Is it Free Fire? I think is starting to pop off. But Mobile Legends as well. Like they're very competitive over there. It's a big population of people that are smart and engaged and very adapted to technology.
Do you know something about the Philippines that I didn't know going into Axie Infinity?
Please.
They love 90s rock. When I started streaming, it was almost always the number one requested. It was like Simple Plan. It was like Good Charlotte.
Dude, it's actually so funny you say that because we went the first day we were there. I swear to God, we were staying in BGC, which is like their new propped up. They built it like 10 years ago. It's kind of like their New York City. It's all these luxury brands. It's really nice, really safe. There's cops everywhere, and they're super friendly, and everybody calls you sir. We went to the Shangri-La, super nice hotel. They have this restaurant in the bottom called Raging Bull Burgers. It's like the bougiest burger restaurant I've ever been to. It was seriously like top 10% burger ever had in my life. So good. And they were playing 90s punk rock the entire time. Blink-182, Newfound Glory, Good Charlotte, exactly what you just listed. Stu was in there with me just like, this is my shit. I found my fucking home. I got the best burger of my life, and they're playing 90s punk rock, and they're friendly as hell, and I'm drinking a beer, and it's noon. Bruh. Like, dude, I don't know. Like, it has some drawbacks, right? I saw some really insane poverty in the Philippines, like legitimately, unironically driving through and saying, is that an actual house? And, you know, Ian Mercado, who's helping us organize the event, she was showing around. She was like, yeah, that's a real house. Like, people live there with electricity. She said, yeah. So they have running water? And she said, yeah. I'm like, but it's built out of just like anything you can find, just like recycled materials. Right. It's like, you know, like if there's a storm, it's going to just blow over. And she was like, yeah, that's basically what happens. That's why when there's a giant typhoon, it's so devastating. It's like,
right. And
fuck, oh my God, I get it now. Like,
we saw so much of that, and both the resourcefulness and the devastation of that last typhoon. You know, I think we raised like 12 grand just off a 24-hour stream just to give back to that, and the results that we saw of that were just like incredible. They were like, hey, through the YGG fund, and we donated everything to the YGG fund, and they were like, listen, we were able to rebuild the roofs of our house, and like you see this stuff and you're like, holy shit. Like both the impact that we can have as a community and like the resourcefulness is just it's crazy to see. So
a big part of that was YGG as a catalyst. Like I think ironically with Web3, most of us are here because we have a distrust in authority, right? This idea of like decentralized finance, it's very disruptive, right? It's kind of anti-authoritarian in principle, and it's cool. It's very punk rock, man. And I don't know. I think it's just a big part of why we're here. And I just lost my train of thought.
I like. I remember that marathon. I shaved my head.
You shaved your head
live on stream.
Yeah.
Clean down.
The first donation I think was from you, sir.
Yes.
And straight down the head, right there.
It was an inside job the entire time.
Yeah. My point was to tie it all together is that YGG was the catalyst that allowed, like, even though there's so much distrust in the general community of like. People are into being charitable, but they're skeptical of charities because you don't know if that money is actually going to the people that it's supposed to be earmarked for. There's a lot of bureaucracy in the middle. But in the case of YGG, it's like, hey, I know Gabby. I trust Gabby. And I know this org actually has so many ties all across the Philippines that they have some pretty cool tools to be able to distribute this money in a meaningful way. And I believe that most of it will go to the people that need it the most. YGG enabled that. That community trust is what made so much of that donation drive possible. And that's so fucking cool, man.
Super cool.
Yep.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Quest a little bit, dude. What's going on? You guys are doing some shit with Sky Mavis. That's awesome. Please hook me up. I'm living in an esports bubble. I'm not going to lie. I've been on the road for 4 months. I know I said this a bunch of times. I've been working on esports events. We just did the Brazilian one, the Filipino one, and I've been planning AxieCon on the events team. So like, even though my title is program lead of esports and content creators, you fellas are actually doing stuff with content creators. So please hit me with it. What's going on?
It's me? Okay, cool. So, I mean...
Good thing he's here because he wasn't even part of the plan. And fucking Hantao's just like, I look pretty. I smile. I got the T-shirt on, so we're
Bruce
good.
is our opener.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
he's the one that opens.
I knock through the door, and then I let the people with the content really do the rest. So, I mean, the goal of the creator program is to identify, support, and retain all the high-level contributors to the Axie ecosystem. And we casted a broad net on that, which is you have your traditional YouTubers, video and audio content creators. We also folded in people like developers, illustrators, memers, etc. There's probably like niche community groups because in Web3, we know that it's built from the ground up. We know that it's built from the community members.
Sorry.
No, go for it.
I've done it like 3 times now.
It'll be fixed in post.
Yeah,
we're going to fix this in post.
I don't even know where we're streaming. Where are we streaming right now?
We're just recording. So like we're going to edit it all
We're
together.
going to do
It's
this in
good.
post.
It's
Okay,
gonna,
great.
it's gonna be posted.
Okay.
No, it's we didn't want to do this live. That's for sure.
Awesome. No, quick cut back to the thing then. So we have all these niche communities, and so we cast out a broad net, and we're bringing these people in to make sure that we fully understand what people need as a content creator in the community, and we're able to support them in their journey, no matter where they are, because people are all across different areas of their journey. You know, they could be just starting out to, holy crap, I have 100,000 followers through the Axie ecosystem, and now we're looking to make sure that they're just supported in the right way. So that's how we started the program. And Han, maybe you could just jump into
For sure.
the different things that we're doing.
So at the core, creators have different needs, and everybody's unique. Throughout our experience with working with creators and talent, it was like some of them, their parents didn't believe in them. Some of them, like, they're in school and they're like, they don't have time. Some of them were living on their own and they couldn't pay rent. So it's like the problem set of each creator was so diverse. And we needed to understand the complexity of the Axie ecosystem, because in Web3, you know, there's added elements compared to Web 2. So we wanted to cast a wide net and really understand how each individual niche within the Axie community could be helped and supported in a way that was unique to them, but, you know, like 1,000x in terms of what that benefit could provide for them.
That makes sense. I've seen the same thing with esports, where the first 2 grants we did this sort of one-size-fits-all type concept, and I think for this 3rd esports grant that we're working on for later in this year, and the beginning of like the first half of next year, I guess, let's say, trying to build out a system that is like, someone recently said to me, a fair nations clause of like, how did teams enter the ecosystem and make sure it's fair? You know, like what's the offering that you give to every team, or like how do they make profit off of your esports ecosystem or gaming ecosystem in some way? It's a pretty diverse set of tournaments out there. If you want to do like a major, like let's say YGG says, hey, we want to do a major in the Philippines. You know, we want to do a stadium thing. We're going to sell tickets. We're going to sell sponsors. Let's split the prize pool. They could still make money off that event. Like you can break even very easily, and with enough sponsors, that's hugely profitable. It's a great brand. We could do it yearly. We could grow the whole thing. To me, it's way more sustainable and better if third parties can build those business models that make sense. That's very different from somebody doing like a $50,000 online league over a month or something. Yeah. Or even a minor for that matter, or maybe it's got a small, like couple hundred people, like in a more niche part of the world, in a studio that's got some expansion space, make it more of a VIP event. You still want to fly players on site, you know, like $150,000 prize pool. Those events need a little more help maybe than a stadium event, because a stadium event is actually a little more scalable in terms of the revenues. So that's also all in comparison to the smallest like regional scholarship guilds that need, you know, $5,000 or something to do a little community tournament. Maybe they broadcast it only in Arabic and it's this cool thing for 500 people, but it helps scale these global niche communities. You want the grant to cover everything. Yeah. And I think that's the model we want to start moving into. And then we'll start to, you know, at the very beginning at least, assign, you know, some circuit points to the bigger events like the majors, the minors, the leagues, the invitationals. And you use that as some kind of incentive system towards AxieCon, which will become like a yearly regular cadence. So it's like a rudimentary system, but I think you don't have to reinvent the wheel, dude. Just do what works, keep it simple, and just build a little basic circuit. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, all we're trying to do is just get everyone in the same room that wants to contribute and say, hey, like, this is where you can go and actually get your voice heard and be able to get the low-hanging fruit support addressed. I think one of the challenging things about, you know, bucketing people as content creators is that we look at, you know, is it the person that's actually on the camera? Is it the person that's editing, the script writer, the thumbnail designer? Like, who is enabled in the content creator program? And part of us trying to cast a wide net is to really capture all those dynamic archetypes and say, hey, if you're willing to contribute to the Axie ecosystem, you can come here and we'll be able to identify you and support you.
Yeah, I think it's a good example of something that can benefit from moving slow in some degree, where I feel like the current state of it is very driven on like a basic user experience principle of let's collect some data. Yeah. Let us interview you. Send us your feedback. Tell us what you want, and let's start to put that together and use the data to make the best system possible. And that's like a really, it is a slow and methodical approach, but if you're patient enough, I think it yields to more scalable returns.
I mean, you're building for the user at that point. You're building for the person that you're solving problems for, rather than forecasting or predicting like what the user needs. And so this way you're actually solving real problems versus just not.
Right.
Yeah. A guesstimate. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And that phase one is exactly what you said, right? And people tend to not appreciate not having the answer up front, right? Where it's like, hey, here's the grand reveal of this large program. But taking this approach allows us to really build the thing that people need. And we did, 40-something interviews before even launching the program to really get an understanding of what people need. But even then, that's a relatively small sample size when you look at the entire Axie ecosystem. Like, 40 is a lot, but there's hundreds and thousands of creators.
Even today, right? So in these like bearish conditions, let's say we have 600,000 daily active users or 500,000. That's still a really largely engaged audience of people that are still playing the game despite these pain points and these tough conditions. And there's a lot of people, I mean, I don't play Axie every day. My user account doesn't count as a daily active user, right? There's a lot of ways to engage in the Axie ecosystem by not being like, I'm going to log in and grind the battle for SLP every day. And I think that's a big essence of what the creator program is about. How do those people get rewarded in a play to earn or play and earn type ecosystem where playing the game earns you time for your attention, but making content doesn't in a meaningful way outside of like a little bit of YouTube ad revenue or, you know, some Twitch subs. But at this point, I think the dream of making a boatload of money from blowing up as a Twitch streamer is kind of, you know, it's like being an NFL player. Like, people have realized the reality of how hard that is. Like, you can do it as a hobby, and that's really cool and really fun and really powerful, but that's different from being like a full-time streamer that has like 1,000 subs and, you know, makes 50 grand a year on Twitch revenue alone. That's a big, at that point you have ascended. You are the point of, you're like the 0.1%, 0.01% of people on Twitch.
Right. And Han, you have a ton of experience in that area, so.
Yeah, I mean, like, it kind of just shows you how much more infrastructure is still missing, because when we're looking at creators within even crypto and they're not even getting sponsorships from real brands, like, that's troublesome, right? And for gaming, it's like such a even more smaller niche. And for us to really understand, like, how do we grow the creator base from, you know, 1,000 people to 100,000 creators, like traditional games.
It's true. And it's cool to be able to use AXS as an incentive, because it always has this dual value, right? It's like a governance token that will contribute to some sort of decision making, and it's worth real money value. So there's this game theory of, do you value having some control over the ecosystem, even if it's in the form of an Axie score where AXS is an influence? You know, like, it'll actually be really interesting to see with AxieCon, where, you know, we're going to, who knows, maybe when this goes out, we'll have, you know, some announcements, but
Leaks?
Yeah, like for AxieCon esports, there's going to be enough money that'll be interesting to see as people win prizes. Does most of it get cashed out? Does most of it get staked? Does most of it just sort of sit in the ecosystem and kind of be patient and see maybe if conditions improve? Like, I'm curious what some relatively large commitments to esports will have, because there's been a big holding pattern until Origin, and now that it's arriving, we can really start cranking things up and getting people excited.
Well, what's your ideal scenario?
I think building towards this Axie Pro League type model that we talked about earlier, but it really starts with this first AxieCon. So, well, maybe this part we'll reserve for later, so I'll just go ahead and spoil it for you guys, right? We're going to do this like...
Let's go!
Yeah, we're going to do this like $1 million prize pool that'll be broken up 50% for Axie Classic, 50% for Axie Origin.
I got to start playing.
There will be online qualifiers, like, you know, kind of Dota style. It'll be like rounds of Swiss, and then like some bracket playoffs broken into East and West for Axie Classic. That'll be 500,000. Half of that 500,000 will be paid out in the online qualifiers. So you start collecting money pretty early in the rounds if you make it like to, there's like 4 phases. So if you make it to phase 2, you start collecting money. So it's actually pretty diverse and pretty spread out. Winner gets like $75K. If you win AxieCon for Axie Classic, it'll be like the proper send off, close the whole thing out. Then Axie Origin will have a $400,000 prize pool for like a BYOD, like bring your own device style tournament, up to 2,000 people of, you know, the people that'll be at AxieCon that want to register. First come, first serve if you have a ticket. And yeah, a pretty deep prizing in that as well. It'll be kind of like chess style or Magic the Gathering with like, you know, numbered tables and stuff. Then that other 100K will be a thing called Axie Stadium, which is like you show up at different planned heats per day, and it's like 1,000 people per day maximum. And you play in these rounds, and if you go undefeated, then you get invited back to play against like a senior member of the staff, like Trung or Jiho or Alex or like maybe me, or, you know,
got to start practicing.
People. So yeah, and like, so you have to choose, right? You can't play in all 3 of them very easily. It'd be intense if you could try to.
It just sounded like you listed off like Axie gym trainers just now. Pokemon.
A little bit, yeah. That's like, it's like Axie Stadium, you know. It's like you're, you know. So, and we'll probably keep iterating on it. So, yeah. Anyway, very exciting stuff coming up on the horizon. And it makes me wonder, like, how excited will people get about that, and will that actually jumpstart some like.
I mean,
is that enough to make it worth breeding for Origin if you can breed the most meta shit to beat the shit?
I mean,
like,
Zyori, people are breeding for Origin right now without any earnings. We see it in the marketplace. Like, you'll see things that are very expensive to win and get high ranked in Origin right now with no earnings. So I anticipate that it'll be a thing.
It's pretty hyped, dude.
Yep. Yeah, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna beat Zyori.
Yeah,
like that.
He was ranked 35 when Origin first started.
Until they pulled me back and they said, "Listen, dude, we have a company to run. You like can't play this
Axie.
game. You can't play this game 12 hours a day." I'm like,
yeah.
All right, fine.
He was like up to 3 a.m. playing Axie, And we were like, Bruce, you need to come to meetings.
I love it, dude. No, it's good. It's about to pop off, man. It's gonna be awesome. So, all right, let's wrap this thing up. This was podcast number 3. So I think it's time to head back and do this thing up. But appreciate your work, gentlemen. You guys have been doing big stuff in this space, and very much appreciate it. This is first of many conversations we should have. I need to have like each of you on Axie Tuesday. I think we could go deep into your different specializations and histories, and like this was great, but I know there's so much more. So
fantastic.
Run it back in Barcelona.
Yeah,
let's go.
Dude.
Let's do
totally.
it.
I hope to see all of you there.
I won't be playing in the tournament.
No, we'll be Zyori, 100%.
Dude, so that's the problem though. I'm trying to do this program and everyone's like, fuck, dude, knowing that, like, we're going to do it. Like, we're going to play. So
it's a heavy league. But
it's good. We got real game theory now. This is what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
it's the good shit. So just you wait. That's not everything. There's more coming. So, like, reveals. That's what it's all about. Anyway. So, cool. Thanks a lot, gang. We'll catch you next time. Much love. Oh my gosh, I was muted. I did it. I muted myself. My gosh, folks. It was so amazing though watching that footage. Like, it feels nostalgic and it wasn't that long ago. Isn't that crazy? Like the live events aspect of Axie really is what fills me up with so much vigor. Like, every time I get the opportunity to go and meet these community members in person, sense their energy, it's like it fills up my glass of vitality. It fills up that motivation, pushes it over the top until the next opportunity I have to meet more community members. Really looking forward to AxieCon. Of course, still almost 2 months away, September 7 through 10, Barcelona, Spain, but you're going to hear me plugging it nonstop until that date finally arrives on Axie Tuesday and everywhere else. We'll have the Axie Classic qualifiers. They're going to start from an esports perspective, $500,000 prize pool. Half of that is going to be paid out for the online qualifiers. So you can make money by playing in this thing by not even qualifying for AxieCon. If you just make it into phase 2 or phase 3, you're going to start racking up a prize purse. So super exciting. Registration for those qualifiers opens on the 21st of July, and that's coming up in less than 10 days. So hoping to see many of you competing in that, and certainly hoping to see many of you on site in Barcelona, either competing in the AxieCon Classic or the Axie BYOD Origin Tournament. 400K on the line there. Super excited about it. A lot of things in the pipeline for Axie Esports. But enough shilling, folks. That's it. We're done for today. We will see you next time for the next Axie Tuesday. We'll be back in 2 Tuesdays with another guest, and we'll be doing an interview one-on-one, just like classic style. If you missed any of this or joined us late, or you missed part 1, of course, you can find it on the Axie YouTube, youtube.com/Axie Infinity. While I'm plugging stuff, you can also find the Axie Infinity Esports YouTube channel. We've just recently put that together. Going to be a lot of VODs coming up on that thing in the relatively near future and past AxieCon as well. So if you want to subscribe there, you'll be able to find the link below in the description. Certainly appreciate you. All right, folks, that's it for now. Take care. We'll see you next time.